For years, Quetzalcoatlus has held the crown in natural history as the largest flying creature ever known. With wings stretching up to 10 meters, it seemed torn from the pages of a prehistoric horror tale. But what if I told you there's growing evidence of an even bigger contender? A sky-dominating giant that challenges everything we believed about flight in the age of dinosaurs. This isn't just a deep dive into ancient fossils and tongue-twisting species names. It's a tale of exploration, scientific intrigue, fierce rivalries among paleontologists, and the resurgence of a long-overlooked creature that may be ready to reclaim the skies. Today, we journey back to a forgotten era, trace the scattered evidence left behind in stone and sand, and reveal why Quetzalcoatlus might not be the true king of the skies after all. Roughly 70 million years ago, during the twilight of the Cretaceous period, Earth was a radically different world. The continents were in unfamiliar positions, and shallow seas flooded vast stretches of land. Dinosaurs ruled the ground, but the skies were far from empty. They were alive with astonishing flying creatures. This was an age of transformation, where a shifting climate and evolving ecosystems gave rise to incredible forms of life. The planet was warm and humid, creating ideal conditions for dense vegetation. Towering trees and massive ferns filled lush rainforests, while arid deserts stretched across other regions. The oceans, heated by the sun, teemed with marine reptiles and shelled ammonites. But it was the skies that truly captured the imagination. Throughout the Cretaceous, the heavens were a battleground between primitive birds and the mighty pterosaurs, ancient flying reptiles that soared long before modern birds emerged. The atmosphere at the time, rich in oxygen, made the skies a more forgiving place for massive flyers. Strong thermal currents created lift, enabling these giants to glide across continents, while land-dwelling creatures became leaner and more agile, shaped by the pressures of survival. The air belonged to titans. Among these airborne rulers was a creature that continues to challenge our understanding of biology, Aramburgiania. For decades, Quetzalcoatlus was believed to be the largest flying animal in history, but new findings suggest Aramburgiania, a close relative, may have surpassed it, potentially stretching an incredible 12 meters from wingtip to wingtip. This mysterious giant lived where the arid landscapes of modern-day Jordan and Saudi Arabia now lie. Although we only have partial fossils, the immense size of its bones hints at a powerful, wide-ranging flyer capable of covering vast distances in search of food. But its realm wasn't limited to the sky. The scorching deserts below also offered unique opportunities for a creature of its scale. The presence of such colossal pterosaurs in these dynamic environments reveals something profound. Millions of years ago, the sky was every bit as important a domain as the land. Flight wasn't just mobility, it was dominance. And in that ancient theater, Aramburgiania wasn't just a survivor, it was a contender for supremacy. What allowed such massive creatures to take to the air? The answer lies in the very atmosphere they breathed. Elevated oxygen levels and favorable flight conditions defied the limits we once assumed. The physics of that ancient world made room for giants in the skies, something we're only now beginning to understand. During the Cretaceous period, Aramburgiania wasn't the lone ruler of the skies. While its massive size was unmatched, the airspace above prehistoric Earth was alive with other remarkable flyers, each evolved in extraordinary ways to dominate their aerial domain. Pterosaurs like Aramburgiania were a far cry from modern birds. Their skeletons were built for flight, lightweight and hollow, but their wings told a different story. Rather than feathers, their wings were crafted from a thin membrane of skin, stretched along an enormously extended fourth finger. This design made them resemble giant flying bats more than birds. Despite their size, these creatures weren't clumsy, far from it. Their flight style, marked by slow, powerful wing beats and skillful use of rising thermal currents, allowed them to glide gracefully over vast distances. Among the sky giants, Quetzalcoatlus stood out as another legend. With a wingspan up to 10 meters, it remains one of the most iconic pterosaurs of its time. But what made it truly remarkable wasn't just its dimensions. It was its ability to soar effortlessly. Quetzalcoatlus was likely a master of thermal, gliding, expending minimal energy as it rode warm air streams over expansive landscapes. Its frame was a marvel of evolution, strong, streamlined, and perfectly suited for long-distance travel. While these behemoths owned the sky, the earth below was teeming with their terrestrial counterparts. Predators like Tyrannosaurus rex ruled the land, while peaceful herbivores such as Triceratops and Hadrosaurus moved through forests and plains. But the relationship between pterosaurs and dinosaurs wasn't just one of competition. They occupied distinct realms and played complementary roles in the ecosystem. Not all pterosaurs were giants. Some, like Pterodastro, were smaller but just as specialized. With a mouth lined with comb-like teeth, Pterodastro skimmed water surfaces, filtering out tiny aquatic organisms, much like today's flamingos. These smaller flyers filled unique ecological niches, proving that the skies of the Cretaceous were as diverse as the lands below. Early birds, too, were finding their wings. Hesperornis, for example, was a primitive semi-aquatic bird. Though not as large or dominant as the pterosaurs, it was an agile hunter and a capable swimmer, bridging the worlds of air and sea. Meanwhile, beneath the waves, terrifying predators like Mosasaurus prowled the oceans, while mollusks like ammonites swirled in their armored shells on the sea floor. From sky to soil to sea, every creature played a role in an intricate, balanced web of life. For Aramburgiania, survival meant more than just flight. Likely a fish-eater, it may have also scavenged or hunted small dinosaurs, taking advantage of its height and reach. Its size alone meant few, if any, predators dared challenge it. With access to vast hunting grounds and little competition from above, it roamed freely, a true aerial titan. This complex and competitive environment, filled with flying reptiles, early birds, dinosaurs, and marine monsters, created a rich ecological tapestry. Aramburgiania wasn't merely a giant. It was a critical player in a living system that spanned land, sea, and sky, a symbol of how nature, even in its most ancient forms, favored the bold, the specialized, and the truly massive. Life during the Cretaceous was anything but simple, especially for colossal creatures like Aramburgiania. Its size was both a strength and a liability. While being enormous gave it a certain dominance, it also came with challenges that required highly specialized adaptations just to survive. For Aramburgiania, survival wasn't just about brute strength, it was about mastering the skies. Unlike land animals that relied on speed or physical power to evade predators and secure food, this giant pterosaur used altitude to its advantage. With a wingspan stretching up to 12 meters, it effectively ruled the air. Its size alone meant that few, if any, predators dared to take it on. But staying alive meant more than just being big. Its real advantage came from its flight mechanics. Like many pterosaurs, Aramburgiania was a glider, expertly using thermal updrafts, rising currents of warm air, to soar with minimal effort. This technique, known as dynamic soaring or thermal gliding, let it travel vast distances without burning through energy. Think of it like a living glider plane, riding nature's invisible highways to cross entire landscapes. On the ground, its sheer scale likely gave it an edge, even if it wasn't a fearsome hunter. Instead, it probably patrolled broad territories, searching for fish and other small marine animals. With few predators able to threaten it, Aramburgiania could explore coastal zones, estuaries, and inland waterways largely undisturbed. However, the competition for food was fierce. Other large pterosaurs, such as Quetzalcoatlus, occupied similar ecological niches, and marine predators added even more pressure. These challenges may have pushed Aramburgiania to migrate across great distances to find untapped feeding grounds. Meanwhile, smaller pterosaurs took a different approach. Species like Pterodastro evolved unique adaptations to avoid competing directly with the giants. Its comb-like teeth allowed it to sift plankton and tiny aquatic creatures from the water, a clever strategy that kept it out of the way of the larger hunters and scavengers. Another key adaptation, likely shared by Aramburgiania, was sharp vision. Evidence from related pterosaur fossils suggests they had large forward-facing eyes, perfect for spotting prey or danger from the skies. From high above, it could track movement on land or sea, choosing the right moment to descend for a kill or scavenge a carcass. While it may not have been as agile as smaller pterosaurs, its ability to glide for hours gave it an energy-efficient edge in the hunt. There's also reason to believe that, like Quetzalcoatlus, Aramburgiania could have used its bird's eye view to scout terrain and time its approach with precision, whether that meant diving in to grab a fish or zeroing in on a vulnerable land animal. In this ancient world, success wasn't just about physical might. It came down to how well a creature could adapt, how efficiently it fed, how cleverly it traveled, and how it avoided danger. For giants like Aramburgiania, the key to survival was not just soaring higher, but knowing where to go next. The late Cretaceous, the final chapter of the age of dinosaurs, was a time of profound upheaval. As pterosaurs like Aramburgiania soared through prehistoric skies, the planet below was undergoing dramatic transformations, some of which would shape the course of life forever. This era was marked by a warm and humid climate that supported vibrant ecosystems teeming with life. But toward the end of the Cretaceous, the environment began to shift. Global temperatures fluctuated, oxygen levels dipped, and weather patterns became increasingly erratic. These changes weren't random. They were fueled in part by heightened volcanic activity, which pumped vast amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, intensifying greenhouse effects and reshaping global climates. The Earth itself was also changing physically. The slow drift of tectonic plates caused continents to break apart and reform, creating oceans and mountain ranges that redefined the world's geography. These changes disrupted ocean currents and weather systems, which in turn influenced the delicate balance of ecosystems, especially the marine environments so crucial to pterosaurs. For massive flyers like Aramburgiania, survival during these changes was far from easy. They already faced stiff competition for food, but as their environment grew more unstable, the stakes got higher. Shifting climates may have driven prey into new regions or caused population declines, forcing pterosaurs to travel farther and farther to find food. Though their vast wingspans made such journeys possible, they also left them vulnerable, facing unfamiliar predators, harsher conditions, and increasing scarcity. Their mobility may have been their best weapon in the face of change. With the ability to cover huge distances, Aramburgiania could escape depleted regions and seek out new hunting grounds. But those long journeys also meant more risk and more energy spent, especially as volcanic emissions clouded the skies with ash and chemicals like sulfur dioxide. These pollutants could have triggered acid rain, choked the atmosphere, and dimmed the sunlight that powered the food chain from the ground up. The resulting environmental stress cascaded through ecosystems. Reduced photosynthesis stunted plant growth, hurting herbivores and disrupting the base of the food web. For aerial predators like Aramburgiania, this meant fewer opportunities and greater pressure to adapt or perish. And then came the final blow. Roughly 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid slammed into what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, triggering one of the most catastrophic extinction events in Earth's history. The collision caused tsunamis, global wildfires, and a nuclear winter effect that blotted out the sun. More than 75% of all life on Earth vanished, including the great pterosaurs. While the asteroid was the knockout punch, it wasn't the only factor that led to their downfall. Some researchers argue that the gradual decline of pterosaur populations was already underway, driven by ongoing climate change and perhaps even competition from birds. These emerging avian species were smaller, more adaptable, and better suited to the increasingly fragmented and changing ecosystems. Over time, they may have edged the pterosaurs out. The extinction of Aramburgiania and its kin marked the end of an era, the closing of a chapter in which reptiles ruled both land and sky. Though they vanished, their legacy lingers in the fossils they left behind and in the flight of every bird that now fills the skies they once commanded. The extinction of the pterosaurs, particularly the massive Aramburgiania, was not a sudden event. It was the culmination of a series of interconnected factors that gradually wore down these once dominant creatures of the sky. Throughout the latter part of the Cretaceous, changes in climate and geology had already begun to challenge the survival of pterosaurs. Rising and falling global temperatures, shifting ocean currents, and increased volcanic activity created an increasingly unstable environment for species that thrived in such a fragile ecosystem. Fluctuations in temperature impacted the availability of marine food sources, altering the feeding habits of the giant pterosaurs. However, the ultimate cause of their extinction came with the catastrophic event that would bring the Cretaceous to a close: the asteroid impact. Around 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid, roughly 10 kilometers wide, struck what is now Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, releasing an amount of energy equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. This impact triggered widespread fires, giant tsunamis, and propelled a massive cloud of dust and debris into the atmosphere, blocking out sunlight for months. This nuclear winter effect caused a sharp drop in global temperatures and halted photosynthesis, triggering a collapse of ecosystems and food chains. For pterosaurs, the aftermath of this cataclysm was devastating. As reptiles, they depended on the environment to regulate their body temperature, and the sudden cooling of the planet would have posed a significant survival challenge. In addition, the impact triggered a mass extinction of marine species that were a vital part of the pterosaur's diet, further compounding the disaster. Although some pterosaurs survived for a brief period after the asteroid strike, they were already under pressure from climate shifts, food scarcity, and fierce competition. Birds, which had been evolving more efficient flight adaptations and a broader range of feeding behaviors, began to exploit niches that had once been the domain of pterosaurs. Their ability to adapt to the changing environment gave them a significant advantage over the massive but now vulnerable pterosaurs. The asteroid impact marked the end of not just the pterosaurs, but also the non-avian dinosaurs. Both groups were wiped out by the combination of the asteroid's effects, ongoing climate change, and disruptions to their habitats. Birds, however, being descendants of certain dinosaur groups, managed to survive and flourished in the post-extinction world. If the fall of the pterosaurs represents the close of a remarkable era in Earth's history. These winged giants, which had ruled the skies for more than 150 million years, vanished from the planet. But their legacy lives on. Pterosaurs, through their fossils and their influence on the evolution of modern birds, remain a testament to the extraordinary diversity of life that once soared through the Mesozoic skies. The story of Aramburgiania and other giant pterosaurs teaches us profound lessons that extend far beyond their extinction. These creatures ruled the skies for millions of years, but even the most formidable beings were not immune to the dramatic shifts that altered the planet. As we confront challenges like climate change and the loss of biodiversity, the tale of these ancient giants urges us to reconsider our relationship with the natural world. Aramburgiania, like its pterosaur relatives, was a master of adaptation. It evolved incredible strategies for flight and hunting, perfectly suited to its environment. Yet, despite these impressive traits, it could not avoid the catastrophic consequences of an asteroid impact and rapid environmental changes. In its extinction, we see how even the best-equipped species can fall victim to external forces, whether a natural disaster like an asteroid or sudden global climate disruption. Today, we are witnessing the accelerating pace of environmental change driven by human activity. Rising global temperatures, deforestation, pollution, and the looming threat to countless species all point to an uncertain future. Throughout history, we've seen many species go extinct, but we've also observed others evolve and adapt. Like modern birds, the descendants of some pterosaurs, we can find hope in the resilience of life, which is capable of adapting and thriving under new conditions. However, the story of the pterosaurs also offers a critical warning. Life on Earth is deeply connected to environmental balance. When that balance is disturbed, even the most well-adapted creatures can face extinction. The pterosaur's demise reminds us that Earth is a dynamic system, constantly changing. Everything is interlinked, and human actions now have the potential to disrupt this balance in irreversible ways. In today's world, research on climate change and asteroid impacts teaches us that if we do not act responsibly, we may be nearing a new turning point in Earth's history. The extinction of the pterosaurs highlights the risks of ignoring nature's warning signs and reminds us of how vulnerable species are to catastrophic events, whether they are natural or caused by human hands. So what can we learn from the pterosaurs? Perhaps the most crucial lesson is the importance of adaptation and protecting the ecosystems that sustain all life. The extinction of these winged giants was a stark reminder that the Earth is ever-changing, and our survival is intertwined with our ability to respect and adjust to those changes. Are we truly learning from the extinctions of the past? Can we prevent history from repeating itself? These are essential questions for the future of biodiversity and the ecological health of our planet. While the pterosaurs could not escape their fate, we still have a chance to change our course if we act in time.